Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We're going to take a quick look at Bitcoin, understand a bit more about back-end data here as well with altcoin season index, fear and greed, and essentially how these things work out or concurrent with the market, right? Why are these things happening? Well, a lot of it is based on the fact that we have renewed optimism in the house that could pass a stable coin this week. So if that does happen, things are going to be looking on the up and up. Some things we want to kind of pay attention to is just the Genius Act. It's basically a stable coin bill that has already passed the Senate, and it looks to become one of the first standalone crypto measures signed into law. So this is kind of pushing the price action higher a little prematurely, in my personal opinion, because we had a lot of divergences yesterday, a lot of reasons why we were supposed to see that CME gap get filled, and it never did, partially because there's, once more, as per usual, fundamental catalysts in the crypto market. So those are all good things in the overall sense. We want that to happen. I just still feel like the CME gap will get filled. We literally just bounced off the top range of it, and we never got that true pullback. So either way you look at it, pullbacks are good. It's healthy if we get that. And if not, the price keeps going up. It's all well and good. Just know if we go up too fast and too soon, the pullbacks are a lot stronger. And we don't really like that. At least I personally don't like that myself. Anyways, let's take a look here at liquidation. Kind of start with this here first, and we'll pivot over to the fear and greed index and altcoin season index. But for the moment here, we can see once more 116 to 114. It's kind of a heavy concentration, all the way as low as 112. There's a fair value gap as low as 112,000 in the larger time frames. That is something to be mindful of. We could very well see a correction to that 112 range. If so, I think 110 to 112 is a pretty optimal consideration for entry on a long. Obviously, that is a long ways away, but lately, honestly, it's not. I mean, the price, you see how fast things move in this range, and we were at 123 yesterday, and we went down as low as 116 later that same day. So just some things to be aware of. But at this point here, we have more shorts than longs in the market right now. And this is a big teller here telling us that this little pump here is probably either A, premature, or B, not really sustainable, because there's more people betting the price is going to go down than up. So just keep that in mind. That is not really an awesome thing to identify when you're trading, at least to the upside. Okay, as much as I want to FOMO in and just take a bunch of longs right now because altcoins are doing very well, it's difficult to want to do that when we know we have more propensity to pull back here, or at least more people feel like it's going to pull back, and that's generally a good sign, at least depending on the direction you're heading, right? All that being said, 118,000 is this point of control here locally. Let's go ahead and zoom out just really quick to be more thorough. And if we look at the last 1 month, we want to take some consideration here and just recognize that 110 to 112, significant amount of support outside of 118 and 120. So with us being in that range of 118 to 120, there's a solid chance we stay in this range until we break above or below. The likelihood, I think, here of going higher is greater if we can close above 118,000 today. And what that would do is that show that we have what it takes to be able to maintain this range. But volume is starting to dry up a little bit here, and we want to pay attention to that. All right, let's go ahead and circle around to our crypto market overview. All right, let's start with altcoin season index. And this is just something to be mindful of. We were at 32 yesterday, 37 today. This is basically just an indication that trading altcoins is a significantly favorable consideration at the moment. In other words, try not to short altcoins. Specific ones are at key level resistances, which I've identified yesterday. But I would say at this point, not necessarily a great call to consider shorting them just yet, even though I do feel like we're going to have a pullback. I think these pullbacks are becoming less significant and more likely for the price to go higher. So if we look here, fear and greed index is at a 68. I mentioned this previously. Generally speaking, the price action for Bitcoin going much higher from here, outside of fundamental catalysts, is lower based on the simple fact that we consistently see when fear and greed index is high in the 60, 70, 80% range, that Bitcoin usually goes sideways and down. Overall, open interest is coming off here today. We're coming down with open interest, implying more selling pressure. But we do have ETF net inflow here, kind of reaching the same as it was yesterday as the day before. Basically, just telling us that we're still seeing some good inflow, and that it increases the sustainability. Likely, once again, that fundamental catalyst coming through. So let's take a look at the daily time frame, work our way down and call it a day here. And before we get any further here, I do want to say thank you again for being an amazing part of my life. Thanks again for just always hitting the like button, commenting below. Apparently this new format people really appreciate. So if so, just consistently do me the favor of watching all the way through, consistently hitting the like button, and feel free to comment and let me know what your thoughts are on Bitcoin. Feel free to also reference our altcoin analysis. I have that consistently out there. And obviously, make sure you check out BitUnix too, folks. We got an awesome exchange here with us. Excellent rewards here too. And if we take a look here, there's an awesome prize pool right now. We're just about to unlock $10,000 prize pool there for our trading volume with our community. So congrats on that. Okay, so Bitcoin, awesome stuff here in a lot of ways, right? So I don't want to discredit and be like, hey, we're going straight down. If you didn't catch my analysis from yesterday, the concept here is that we have a CME gap below the price action, and we also have a fair value gap below the price, right? Not all of them are filled, right? So you got to understand that. Down here, that didn't happen. 103,000 never occurred. But you got to recognize these are very, very close to the price action. We have a significant amount of fair value here, and there's somewhat of a divergence. We're starting to lose that volume. We're starting to see that selling pressure increase. I mean, we don't have 45 billion in long liquidation delta anymore. That's not fueling the flame anymore. We have, 4 or 5 billion in short liquidation delta, telling us that we have more shorts in the market. Therefore, short-term corrections still make sense. Outside of a fundamental catalyst, which we cannot anticipate, we are in pretty good shape here to see the price continue a bit lower for a nice average entry in if you want to consider waiting and being patient. It's not a guarantee, but most of the signs are there. So jumping over the 4 hour, here's kind of what I saw yesterday here. We're still under our moving average. Our RSI is back up over 50, which is actually nice, but money flow index is super low. If you see the MFI coming down like this, it generally implies money is coming away from the coin. So while it's all well and good, it's just not something that's super sustainable. Let's take a quick look here, by the way, at our volatility index, just to keep in mind. We are looking pretty strong here, the overall sense. I mean, as long as this continues to go up, we can pretty much expect most altcoins to continue to push. Same thing here as well. When we take a look at Bitcoin dominance, it's pulling back quite significantly here, and this is a good sign for alts, right? So we're finally back down to that 63 percentile, and that's a very good sign because as Bitcoin dominance goes down and Bitcoin price goes down, we see stability in altcoins here. So ideally, in a perfect world, Bitcoin continues to pull back, we retain that stability for altcoins, and then we can go ahead and take some longs at some nice key levels here while we're retesting our previous highs and new lows. That's essentially what I've been looking for. But yesterday we missed that margin by like a small percent from Bitcoin. So it's bummer, yes, but also just unexpected and just things you cannot control. That's how the market is. What you can control is how you respond to the way that things are moving, and that's the important thing. Okay, so anyways, being sound mind, sound body, all that good stuff, you'll be in a much better position if you are doing so. Last but not least here, take a quick look here at stablecoin. Just to clarify, this is coming down, basically just telling us here that money's flowing into Bitcoin and altcoins, and then others, of course, here kind of letting us know this is basically excluding the top 10 coins, that a lot of money is flowing into that. In fact, if we take a look here at, I think it's altcoin season index, you can see some super high performers, Pengu, MOG, XPX, specifically Dogwoof Hat. That's one of our community favorites, but we'll go ahead and take a look at that a little bit later. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at there. Awesome stuff in the overall sense. I think at this point, I do foresee a slight pullback here to fill our CME gap, our fair value gaps. I think it's just practical to presume that'll happen. But in the meantime, I'd be cautious and careful shorting altcoins. While they're probably due to correct, especially with Bitcoin here, I don't think they're hitting quite as hard as they used to. In other words, they're not pulling back quite as hard. Right now, everyone's just saying, shut up and take my money, right? They're just flowing money into the market. So just be mindful of that. You're better off taking longs versus shorts with altcoins. And at this point, if you're going to consider shorting up Bitcoin, I think 114 to 116 is a realistic range, just based on that CME gap and those fair value gaps here locally. All right, folks, I'll go ahead and post a new playout chart here available on Twitter X, and we'll look forward to seeing the next one. Thank you again for being a wonderful part of my life. We'll see you soon. Take care out there.